So what are food webs? Food webs are the natural interconnection of food chains in nature. So here's an example of a food chain. A small fish comes and is eaten by a bigger fish. Right here. And that same bigger fish is eaten by a shark. So basically it goes around and around, and the same concept can be applied to different habitats in the world, whether sea or land.
We will be exploring the food webs in two different places today, New Zealand and Lancashire. New Zealand is bordered all around by the Pacific Ocean and has a very temperate climate that ranges between the North and South Islands. Lancashire, similarly, is bordered on one side by the Atlantic Ocean. Also similarly, Lancashire has a very temperate climate throughout the county. Both places, even though on opposite sides of the world, have a similar factor that we will look more into today, sea life.
New Zealand has many species of marine animals native to its land. One of these is the blue penguins. They are the smallest species of penguins in the world. With an average of 33 centimeters in height as an adult, they are tiny. Another species native to the island is Hector's dolphins. They are one of the rarest of the world's 32 marine dolphin species. The New Zealand fur seal, also known as kekeno, are the most common seals in New Zealand. They are also found on rocky shores throughout mainland New Zealand.
Lancashire, with relatively the same climate and water conditions as New Zealand, has a similar marine life. One example is Risso's dolphins, usually found off the coast of the UK. They are incredibly social and travel in pods. Another example of a species found by the Lancashire coast is the orca. Fun fact, they are actually in the family of dolphins, not actually a whale.
So, a food web found in New Zealand and Lancashire is shown here. It starts with phytoplankton, which is a primary producer. Then krill, a primary consumer, and herbivore feed off it, and then starts the whole web. All the secondary consumers in here feed off of krill, such as squid, blue whales, fur seals, dolphins, and crayfish. And many different animals start feeding off of those secondary consumers, such as the great white shark, which is a tertiary consumer, which feed off of dolphins, seals, and squid. It goes on and on and on.
The krill here is what is known as the keystone species. The whole food web is pretty heavily dependent on krill. Without krill, the ecosystem would change drastically. The secondary consumers, such as dolphins and seals, would have nothing to eat. In turn, the tertiary consumers, such as the great white, will also have nothing to eat.
As you can see, all the arrows going out of the krill, if it's taken out of the equation, it's going to be pretty detrimental to the web. Well, there will be many effects on the marine life in both New Zealand and Lancashire with the current conditions in the future. Overfishing is a large problem in both places. Even though fishing is both a highly valued economic, cultural, and recreational activity, it causes major damage to seabed, habitats, and species, without even mentioning the disruption of the natural balance of species within the wider marine ecosystem. Climate change is also a widespread issue that affects food webs in the sea. As the temperature gets warmer, the water also gets warmer, and it results in the decreased ability to absorb gases like CO2, which connects to human activity, as the oceans around the world absorb 30% of global human-emitted carbon dioxide in the last 20 years. When CO2 from the atmosphere is absorbed by seawater, chemical reactions occur, producing hydrogen ions that acidify the water and decrease seawater pH. This is called ocean acidification, and as you can see, there's been a steady decline in pH in the waters surrounding New Zealand. It increases the stress on species and causes high mortality, as you can see from the picture of cuckoo and the effects of it over time, with the warming seas, the increased ocean acidity from the CO2, and coastal extreme waves make it more frequent, all resulting from climate change pressures.